You're listening to the Sticks in the Six podcast. Here are your co-hosts, Andrew Forbes, Peter Baracchini, and Alex Auston.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 180 of Sticks in the Six podcast here at the Hockey Podcast Network, proudly sponsored by DraftKings, Gametime, Raycon, and No Name Hockey. As well, Peter, before we get to our intros here, we are also now sponsored by Skylight Frames. Skylight Frames. I'm just going to pull it up here. Skylight Frames. I thought I had it with me, but... Where are we? Here we go. Skylight Frames. Okay. So Skylight Frames is more than just a photo frame. It's a magical way to keep loved ones close, no matter the distance. With Skylight, you can share the joy of a special moment, a silly snapshot, or a treasured memory instantly, making it the perfect present for anyone who values connection and family. And what better time to do it now than getting into that Christmas season? Obviously, you and I both know, Peter, we got family that are not close by, they're far away, so what a way to do it. Choose from the following, connect with loved ones. There's no better way to put a smile on your loved one's face than to share a special photo. Whether it's a glimpse of the kids being silly, a magical moment from a vacation, or a sentimental memory from years past, Skylight Frame brings your favorite memories to life right in your home. Skylight Plus for the tech savvy. So for those of you who love a little extra, Skylights Plus software offers advanced features that enhance the experience. One standout feature is Doodles, where you can draw a picture on your app and it appears directly on your loved one's Skylight frame. Perfect for adding a personal touch for a little bit of fun. Perfect for kids like my own to do that for their grandparents. Another great feature is greeting cards, where you can choose from hundreds of designs and send an interactive card that appears on the frame, creating special moments for birthdays, holidays, or just because. This holiday season, give the gift that keeps on giving memories. Whether it's for grandparents who adore seeing their grandkids' latest antics, or a friend who loves capturing every moment, the Skylight Frame is the perfect gift to bring joy and connection into your home. There's effortless setup and instant sharing with no app or subscription required and a quick 1-minute setup. Skylight is designed to be easy for all ages. Simply plug in the frame and you're ready to start sharing memories. It's also the ultimate surprise. Preload your favorite photos before gifting the Skylight Frame. When your loved one plugs in their new frame, they'll be welcomed with special memories ready for immediate enjoyment. It's better than social media. Skylight Frame is a great private way to share photos without posting them to the world or having to print hard copies. You can store thousands of photos. Skylight Frame can hold up to 8,000 photos with 8 gigabytes of space. For a limited time, get 20% off your purchase of Skylight Frame when you go to ca.skylightframe.com/hockey. That's right. To get 20% off your Skylight Frame, just go to ca.skylightframe.com/hockey. That's ca.skylightframe.com/hockey. Get 20% off of Skylight Frame at ca.skylightframe.com/hockey. Well, a good way to start off the episode with missing the ad there, but you know, we circle back, we recover, we keep it
going. We keep it going. That's what you do on live podcasts, TV, everything. You keep it going. You got to keep it natural, you know?
It's a reminder to everyone that we are far from experts at this, but we continue to push it. We're human. We like to have fun. We like to show you transparency. Not all of us are perfect. We try to be...
It's just something to add to the bloop reel.
That's
you know?
Right,
sorry to copy J SC on J right there, or J on right on SC, but you know, sorry to copy right there, but you know, you got to have it.
Yeah, that's right. Anyways, Peter, we got a fun show coming up. It's a first. In 180 episodes, we've never had a local artist on. We've never had somebody on that's photographed celebrities. We've never had somebody on that is involved in promoting the women's game and delving into kind of sharing and honoring the PWHL as we do tonight. We have Briony Douglas coming on. Very excited to have her on. She's going to talk about something that they are unveiling next week. Obviously, unfortunately, neither one of us could be there, but we're excited to see what comes of that. We're excited to promote the women's game. As we've always been since day one on this podcast, we are pumped, and we know that there's a place in sport for women's hockey and driving. This is going to be a driving force to promoting this game even more.
Yeah.
And just going into season 2. So imagine NHL is 100+ years old. This is going into season 2. We're talking about it. We're going to be talking about it a lot more once Briony comes on. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, Peter, it's been a little while since we've touched base, couple weeks. Life gets busy. Unfortunately, we had to sit last week out, but we do have a lot of Leafs talk to come after our interview with Briony. Until then, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good. You know, like you said, life gets in the way. Things have been a little hectic, but you know what? Things are starting to calm down a little bit right now. You know, it's obviously approaching the holiday season, so you know me, I always make a trip out to, you know, visit family, you know, try to catch up with them during the holiday season. So I got my ticket booked. I'm going to see them for a Fam Jam session once again, because you know what? It ain't the holidays unless your family's there. So I'm all set. I'm not really packed, but I'm, you know, basically have a list in mind of like packing is going to be easy and everything like that. So yeah, you know, the last few years, you know, Christmas in Montreal has been really, really special and very sentimental to me. So always make the most of it, always enjoy it, and I just can't wait to see them all. So yeah, we're getting in there right now. And obviously, you know, me, I love my Christmas movies. I love my holiday movies. So, you know, I'm going to be binge watching Elf, Christmas Vacation, you know, the classics, Home Alone. I mean, like my whole entire house is already decked out with like Christmas stuff and everything like that. So we start early, we enjoy it, but you know what? We also, you know, gotta realize that at some point everything's got to come down. So we try to enjoy it as much as possible.
Oh, you gotta love it until the time kind of runs out on Christmas, right? Yeah.
Until January,
as soon as,
you know.
The way I say it is, as soon as Remembrance Day is done, you start celebrating Christmas.
Yep.
Right through to January. It's a good time. Hopefully this year you do not get stuck on any train rides. We know how brutal that was. I think that's 2 years ago now.
That is going on 2 years now.
That's 2 years now.
Yeah, that is my planes, trains, and automobiles moment. A lot of my friends bring that up, and it's yeah, fingers crossed that I don't have another Del Griffith moment, or like something breaks down and everything goes completely wrong, because we were supposed to get there at 9:00 at night. It did not get there until 9:00 in the morning on Christmas Eve. So yeah, hopefully travel is going to be very, very smooth this time around. It was last year, so hopefully 2 years in a row. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Anyways, couple of quick shout outs before we get into our interview. One to a good buddy of mine. Although he's a Habs fan, I got to give him a shout out. Justin Zadorsky. He's taking part in his first boxing match ever. He's just shy of my age, a couple years younger, maybe a year younger than I am, so 34, 35. His stepson boxes. He's doing it for charity, so he's jumping into the ring for charity to box tonight. So he's having his first fight, as well as his wife Celine. She's going to be jumping into the ring as well tonight. So a lot of fun there.
Family affair then.
Family affair. You know what? They're very involved with charity and trying to get recognition for other sort of events and stuff like that and organizations. So shout out to them.
Beautiful.
I commented on his post letting him know that he better throw some more punches than Mike Tyson, because that was ultimately one of the most disappointing boxing matches I've ever seen.
I was about to say, yeah, that was very, very underwhelming for, like, it was getting all the hype as the fight of the year. And it's just like, man, I didn't watch it because I don't want to give Jake or Logan Paul or which Paul brother was fighting, because I can't stand them both. Yeah. Giving them the light of day. I just wanted Mike Tyson to just knock him out. But at the same time, when you look at Mike Tyson, age is going to catch up with you. I didn't know if he had a chance or not, but you know what? It was just very, very underwhelming. And it was just one of those fights that was just like, what was the point? You're not going to get them hours back.
No, absolutely. And it's the same as Gretzky's always said. You don't you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yep.
And considering he didn't throw maybe a single punch in the last 3 rounds, Yeah, I mean, safe to say he missed. But my second shout out is to actually, it's crazy because I was surfing TikTok the other day, actually yesterday, surfing TikTok yesterday, and I came across a CTV story on this woman in Burlington who's been selling Taylor Swift tickets, and it's this big uproar because she said she's getting them from a third party. She was going to deliver the tickets before the show, collected all this money from all these fans who were buying tickets, and never came through. CTV went to interview her. No, she slammed the door. She saw the camera. That was it.
Yeah.
So I'm watching this story, and knowing very well that I had a few people that I knew that were going to the T Swift concerts in Toronto. I mean, once in a lifetime opportunity. Why wouldn't you?
I mean, when 3 more shows are added, you got to.
That's right. So I'm watching this story, and my cousin pops up. Oh. And my cousin's a teacher in Burlington, and she got scammed by this person who. And the crazy part is this person who's been selling the tickets, actually provided tickets to a Pink concert for other people in years past. So it's not like this person is like,
she's done
it before.
Yeah.
So, anyways, long story short, she's got a daughter of I think she's getting older. She's 12 or 13 now. Mm-hmm. And she had to go and tell her her daughter on the Friday night that, hey, we don't have the tickets. We're not going. So shout out to Tammy Allen. Yeah. Shout out to Peyton. And hopefully you get another opportunity to see her. Mm-hmm. Even if you have to fly out to Sweden to fucking go to a concert. Maybe that's what you got to do. But I hope you get another opportunity. Yeah. People out there are shitty. Scammers out there, go die. You're so heartless. You're heartless to put people in that position and to kind of get to a point where, you think that you have this right to take people's hard-earned money.
Feel like you have all the control in the world or something like this. And you know what? There are people out there that would want to go out and enjoy and go and see the show.
1,000%.
And yet you're basically holding those tickets at your mercy for the highest bidder. Basically, it's literally like Hunger Games just to get tickets at this point, and it really is disgusting to see that. So I agree. I think that there's got to be something about that. I think Ticketmaster needs to get more involved in trying to cap everything and be a little bit more strict on how they resell tickets, because that's just absolutely ridiculous when you're going to 5, 10, 15,000 just for a concert ticket right now. And even right now, post pandemic, that all the ticket prices are just absolutely ridiculous right now. So something needs to be done.
Yeah, complete insanity. But like I said, big shout out to them. Unfortunate situation, but hopefully they bring light to it, and hopefully they get some of their money back. We'll see about that. Perfect kind of segue into another quick ad read from one of our sponsors before we get to our interview here. Gametime. Okay, You don't want to go through Ticketmaster. You don't want all those hidden fees. You don't want to pay the $1,500. Gametime is the place to go. All right. Gametime is take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. When you look at Gametime picks curates. It's a curation that makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, Taylor Swift, the Leafs in Detroit, whatever you might be looking for. Gametime's got it. They've got all-in pricing, which means toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. You even get to take a look at where you're sitting. So it's a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy the tickets, so you can make sure there's no kind of obstructed view, anything like that. They've got the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% off the difference. Gametime ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. That's right. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. Well, it looks like our special guest is here. I want to welcome Briony to the show. Welcome to Sticks in the Six podcast, Briony. We are very thankful to have you on.
I'm so excited to be on. Thanks for having me.
We're going to try and get this this perfect here. There we go.
There we go. Now we got the perfect setup.
All right. All right. So, Briony, like I said, thank you very much for coming on. We're very excited. First time ever we've had a local artist on, so we're super stoked about that. Before we get into any of the questions and your relation with the PWHL, for our viewers and our listeners out there who might not know you, give us a little background on who is Briony Douglas.
Yeah, of course. First of all, thank you for pronouncing my name right. I've been in Woodstock for the last 20 years. I'm an artist. I've been professionally creating art for the last 10 years as well. I started as a photographer. I've been very lucky to photograph some of the biggest names in the world, like Oprah, Jennifer Lawrence, Zac Efron, which was pretty neat. And then I started building giant sculptures about 5 or 6 years ago. So you can kind of see that's a to scale Formula One car behind us, made completely out of nails. But yeah, I just kind of make big things. It's pretty fun.
So you gotta have a pretty big space for something like that, though, right? Like a up to scale Formula One.
Yeah. It's very big. And my fiance finagled a car lift. Like, he doesn't know how to work on cars, but like, apparently it's working for the Formula One car, so that's good.
There you go.
You just, I mean, Briony, you just mentioned that, like, you just had a Formula One car that we see in the back, and you just mentioned the material used was just made out of nails. As an artist, like, what goes in, like, what type of products do you tend to use, or like, basically, what do you decide fits best in order to create the projects of arts in terms of like everyday objects?
So for me, a lot of the time, I try to find beauty or repurpose in things that people would often dispose of. And I think a lot of that comes to just wanting, like there's a lot of times. So the car's made out of 50,000 nails, but it's a whole bunch of nails to make one. So a lot of my work comes from a whole bunch of things coming together to make a community. And that's kind of an underlying theme throughout all of my artwork.
Okay, so
honestly, half the time I don't know what I'm doing when I say it. Like, for what we're about to talk about, I had never got one of those before. So I'm very happy with how it turned out.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, we don't want to get into too much detail. Obviously, the unveiling is this coming week, so unfortunately neither one of us will be able to make it. I'm in London, he's in Toronto, but it's obviously, but we would love to be there, but so we won't get into too much of the unveiling. But how do you go from local artists, obviously, photographing celebrities, to now you're intertwined with the hockey world and finding yourself on the Sticks and the Six podcast?
Well, I mean, I've played sports and been into sports since I was little. I think as a woman, I've really pushed myself to be even more so in the sports world, as well as the automotive world, because growing up, I didn't get to see a lot of that. And we always want to see ourselves represented. So that's definitely why. And I'm just not very good at taking no for an answer. So I just kind of persevered in all these lanes. And yeah, it's been pretty fabulous. I mean, some of my first memories was being told to keep it down because hockey's on. So that's kind of comes naturally.
So basically when you reached out to us in the email and with the unveiling as well, it's the art that you're using is repurposed sticks from, the PWHL. I'm just curious, how did you come in contact with the PWHL to create this artwork and get involved in sort of like the history or the momentum that is being created with this league, considering that the inaugural season just finished, we're heading into season 2, and it just seems like the momentum keeps going. So I'm just curious, how did the interaction happen with the PWHL to create this artwork?
Yeah, so actually Royale reached out to me, and they're one of the main sponsors. Honestly, I'm very lucky. I get to work with a lot of branded companies to be able to support my art. They have been such a breath of fresh air, because typically when someone asks you to make something, I was like, am I making something out of toilet paper? So like they really were all about embodying the sport, empowering the women, and making their story first, and then also bringing it to life by their support. So that's how I originally got involved. Yeah, it's very cool. I can't wait for you to see.
What is it what is it about? I mean, we were saying before you came on here, Peter and I, we've kind of been pushing this women's hockey game since we started this podcast about 5 years ago. We've been pushing the leagues that were around. Now it's the PWHL. There's a lot of momentum, as Peter mentioned. What does it mean for somebody like yourself to be involved in the growth of the game and the growth of this momentum that this league seems to continue to build?
I mean, it feels like I'm a part of history at this moment. Like, it's, as a woman, there's been so many times that, like, and I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone in the league too. Like, you want to just be lined up against humans and then being told you're great because you're great at what you do, not because you're great because you're a woman. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think we're getting there. So, like, it's amazing that the women's hockey league is doing great. But I feel like hopefully that this is the next step, is like just recognizing them as athletes. And that's like kind of I always say artwork, it's not meant to like beat you over the head. It's a beginning of a conversation. And that's what's awesome about art. So like, you can take away from that piece and discuss what you will. And someone might have a completely different feeling than what someone else does. But what's cool is you're talking about it.
Sorry, Peter, I got to follow up. What kind of got you into art in the first place? I mean, we're diving into this idea of you as an artist and the PWHL and this car in the background here, but what kind of got you to that point where it's like, this is what I want to do for a living?
I had done art since I was a child. Some of my earliest memories was doing stop motion with my dad and melting Play-Doh in the microwave. So like, I've always loved it. It's brought me so much joy. My grade 12 art teacher was not the nicest lady. So I was like, maybe I won't do art for a living. Took many different paths, but they all built me up to where I am today. So now I just make art. It's pretty cool. And we have like a full team. Like today, there was about 10 people in here working now, and they're all often artists that are looking for some extra money. And then they're coming in and like, we're doing like a holiday window installation. So it's literally like Santa's workshop. So it's pretty neat.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you grew up with sports, with, hockey, racing and everything like that, as we can see with the car in the background as well. But what is your fondest sport memory that you remember, or something, or one memory that just stands out, be it with Formula One racing, with hockey, or anything like that?
I mean, it probably is hockey. Like I've played all sports. I'm into pretty much all sports. But like hanging out with my stepdad as a child, watching the game, like that was, and I've been very lucky now to meet some of the Leafs players and know some of them. And when I tell him that is just like, I've met a god. Like it's so cool because it's just some of my favorite memories with him.
It's crazy because like even now, like Peter and I go to the NHL Combine in Buffalo every year, and sometimes we're interviewing guys like half our age, and it's like we are meeting gods, and you try not to fanboy a little bit, right? So it's definitely an interesting moment. This piece that you're going to be unveiling on Monday, I believe, Monday the 25th. It's obviously we know it's made of some sticks. Without giving it away, can you give us any more to what to expect from this?
Yes. So what we did was, and I can talk to this without saying what it is, but we have 127 from the 6th inaugural team. So they gave us their upcycled sticks that they had used. But what was to make a giant sculpture? I'm not going to say what it is, but it was just so cool because it's different than us going out and buying 127 sticks. First of all, that would be extremely expensive. They're so fancy. I had no idea. But what was really cool about it is every single stick had one of the women's names on the side of it. So every stick that is put onto this piece is representing one of the players, like actually. And that I think is just so meaningful. I mean, like I saw Sarah Nurse and Spooner last week, and I wanted to run up and be like, I know you guys. Like I feel so close to them. Like we follow each other on Instagram, but I just feel like I'm friends with them now. There were so many of their sticks that I used to create this piece. And it's just so special. Even the way that like all the sticks are wrapped differently at the top. Like people are doing different creative things, and like it's just really cool. It made it even more special because it's literally from their hands.
What's it like to have those interactions with the players themselves that you are going to be recreating or using their equipment or sticks as part of this piece? Like even with just the PWHL itself too, what interactions have you had with them in this process?
So they don't know what the piece is.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at a Toronto Life party last week because I was on the list for people to watch, and they were named top of the list. So it was really hard not to be like, look what I built. But it's surreal, and I don't get starstruck easily. Like I've met a lot of really cool people, but there is something about them and the empowerment that they're doing that's just, it just feels so different. And there's just so many young women and kids that are just like looking up to this right now. They're like, hey, I could actually do that, which is so cool. So yeah, it's awesome to meet them.
Now this piece is going to be unveiled at the Eaton Center. What's the eventual goal for where this is going to kind of be? I want to say its spot, its landing spot.
So they haven't quite landed on it yet. I mean, my dream would be outside the Hockey Hall of Fame or in some capacity there. I just remember as a kid coming to Toronto being like, this is the coolest thing ever. And like having a piece there would be a dream come true. So fingers crossed, that's hopefully where it lands, but we're not sure yet. TBD.
Briony, I just want to just go off on I had a question in my mind and I completely forgot it. I am so sorry. It's one of those moments where so many things are going in my head. I was going to have a follow-up, but Andrew, I'm going to throw to you until I can remember it.
I think, Peter, this might follow up with one of your questions that you had, but one of the things I know you were looking to ask was, the support from the league. What kind of support did you get from the PWHL in terms of like, was there guidelines to the structure you built? Was there an expectation? Or did they just kind of give you the reins and say like, you're the artist here. What do you want to do with it?
Honestly, so when I put the sketch together, it was Royale that was making the decision, but it had to be approved by PWHL. And there was no feedback. So they liked it from the get-go. And which I think is a good thing. So they just honestly, like everyone that's been involved, especially Royale, just seems to be so much about doing things to empowering this league and empowering these women. So like it's pretty neat.
So I'm
going to the first game on next Saturday, and I'm really excited.
There you go.
Yeah.
Excellent. I just remember my question right now, so that's perfect. Obviously, with this piece, it's not the first sport one that you've done, as we've seen him back as well. But is this one where that you hope that more traction gets to do more sport related pieces in the future for this league overall and to try and promote it even more?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would love to be doing more, especially in this world and just in sports in general. We were down in New York meeting with the NHL office down there a few weeks ago as well, have you been there?
Not to that main office, no.
It's very cool. You guys should go. I also they took a while to read us around and showing us all the spelling mistakes on the Stanley Cup, which I didn't know about. Did you know that?
No.
Okay,
I kind of had a feeling that at some point there would be a few spelling mistakes on there.
No, there's a lot.
Yeah.
It's like you need, I don't know if it's available, but they were telling me like there's just one family that's been doing it out of Montreal, I think, for so long.
For years, yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. It was really neat. Yeah, like especially PWHL, I would love to do more in. I love that we have the WNBA here now as well. So like just very much about empowering women.
So if there was one thing, obviously you mentioned art is, up to interpretation. People take different things away from it. But if there was one thing that you hope that people can take away from this piece that will be unveiled on Monday, what would that be?
Oh God, that's a very deep question. It's kind of just to spark the No, the one thing would be the piece was really hard to build. And the sticks were really hard to cut and drill into and do a lot of the things. And I think I would love people to walk away and see that as a representation of how hard these women have worked to get to where they are today. And that is probably the main thing I would hope people would take away.
Beautiful. That gave me chills, honestly. Like I'm sitting here in my bed, it gave me chills.
True though, yeah.
That's honestly, that's all I have, Briony. I do want to say when I mentioned to my wife that I was coming on with you and that we had you on as a guest, I think she was shell shocked because she follows some connected followers to you on Instagram, so she knew exactly who you were, and so it was very nice to get you on, and like I said off the top, first time ever on Sticks in the Six podcast that we've had an artist, a photographer, somebody that's involved in pop culture a little bit more differently than we are here at the Sticks in the Six podcast. So we do appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we can get down and see that piece, hopefully at the Hockey Hall of Fame at some point.
Oh, this has been so awesome. Thank you for having me on. Also, please tell your wife I said hi. That's really sweet.
I absolutely will. Thank you very much.
We appreciate the time, Briony. Thank you.
Of course. Okay. Have a good night.
You too.
Hi.
Well, Peter, like I said, that both of us were really looking forward to that interview coming off. Like I said, something different, something new for us here at Sticks in the Six, and super excited to have that piece unveiled. Super upset that we aren't able to make it, but we definitely will find a way to get out there and get to see what it is. It's exciting. It's a nuance that we it's something new to us and something that we're not used to, and it opened up our doors a little bit. And honest to God, when she said that thing at the end, that gave me chills. It is important.
I was about to say, it's basically the labor that goes into making it, but at the same time, the combination with the labor that the athletes put onto the ice in order to go out and compete and everything like that. The similarities are there. Yeah, that was said very beautifully overall. And yeah, I mean, like you said, we're going outside of our boundaries for the art, but the fact that the hockey connection is there regardless is something that we could all find that common ground on. And I think that is always the end game and the end goal, which is always very huge.
What I loved about it too was just that as she was saying that last part, I could imagine the work. Like we've been going on for 5 years here at the podcast. We've put in work, but to build a league, and we've seen over the 5 years that we've been on this podcast, the different leagues that have come and gone with women's hockey. And now to kind of have that staple, that PWHL staple, to know that it's headed in the right direction. It's got the right people at the helm. And, art is made to bring people together. I think having somebody involved like Briony to kind of, unveil this piece of work. And for her sake, I do hope it ends up in the Hockey Hall of Fame, because this is going to be an important piece that helps drive that momentum that you talked about in the interview. So again, thanks to Briony for coming on, and big shout out to her, people who made this happen. We really appreciate it, and we were super excited to get her on the show. So hopefully maybe after the unveiling we'll get her on at some point as well, just to talk about it. But definitely happy to have Briony on. Peter, we got to get into some hockey talk to close out the week. We've been off for 2 weeks, man. We got to talk some hockey before we.
A lot has happened.
Craziness down.
I was about to say a lot has happened, but let's just focus on the main 2-3 storylines that have been the focal points over the last 3-4 days, because I think that's absolutely very huge right now. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. I know that, like you said, life gets in the way. But whenever something's happening, it's like, okay, we got to figure out like what's the main talking point right now? What's everyone talking about? And we got the 3 main ones right now. So that's absolutely huge.
Okay, so before we get into that though, do we want to go in hot or do we want to kind of ease into this a little bit?
If you want to gradually progress, I mean, why not?
Okay.
Why not?
So let's kick it off with Matthews. Let's kick it off with the Leafs depleted lineup. And that'll kind of tunnel into our next conversation here. But obviously Matthews, his day-to-day has become week to week. And I mean, there's still really no deadline on when he's going to be back. Yeah, he's the only week to week day-to-day I've seen in a long time. We say that about somebody at work. The only LPT, RPT, so the only regular part-time that only works part of their shifts. But this is I said it off the top of the season. I was like, he's gonna win the Rocket Richard. Now he's just hooping it on me right now because it's like there's no chance. And obviously news came out in the last couple of days here that he was in Germany. He was in Germany, Munich, getting some work done with a specialist that he has worked with before on a similar injury. So speculation is flying rampant on what it could be. But regardless, Matthews has been out of the lineup. The Leafs have gone, 6-1 or 7-1 without him in the lineup?
Yeah, it's definitely like a dominant stretch, and that's basically the one thing they needed to have with him gone.
Marner's had 5 multi-point games without him in the lineup. The Leafs have 42 wins when Matthews is not in the lineup since 2016-17. Is it a different team when he's not there, or is it more a game driven around him when he is there? And maybe that's the issue that we're seeing with this, or not really an issue. I mean, they're getting it done without him.
Yeah, I have to. I feel like this is an ongoing question in like a lot of my circles as well, and I have to think it's the latter. I think it's more driven around him when he's on the ice because of the fact that he is one of the most lethal goal scorers in the league, and they're trying to find him consistently, non-stop. And I think at some point they got to realize that you can't always rely on Auston, which I know is hard because he is the franchise player. He is your captain right now. He is the guy that's potentially going to lead you to a Stanley Cup. Fingers crossed. Hopefully that happens in the near future. But at some point, you can't always revolve around him. It's a team game. You're not looking for just one guy specifically every single time. And you're seeing that Marner's taking the helm offensively. William Nylander's coming up clutch. John Tavares has been on another level this season overall. And even more so in Matthews' absence. And I'm just going to say congrats or, thumbs up or like massive fist bump to Tavares in that scrum when OEL sent, I believe it was Howden flying, and then he takes down Holtz, where it's just this massive scrum or whatever. This is the kind of fire that you want to see throughout the whole entire team. And we saw that with Matthews in there. I think it just was a little bit inconsistent. I think the team needs to have that mentality where if they could play this great with Matthews in the lineup, they need to do the same with him in the lineup. So if at any point they feel like, they're trying to force too many plays towards him. And we've seen Mitch do that constantly nonstop where he's passing up scoring opportunities to try and find Matthews. You cannot do that. If you got the opportunity to take a shot and possibly score a goal, I highly doubt that Matthews is going to throw his hands up in the air and have a moment that he didn't get a chance to score. I feel like he'll be a team player that if someone else scores, I think he'll be happy no matter what the outcome is going to be. So I feel like the team needs to be just as complete with him in the lineup as they are without him. And that needs to happen consistently. Because I even think they even asked, I even think Craig Berube had a good chuckle that he didn't expect the team to be this good with Matthews out of the lineup. Mm-hmm. And this is like in like a recent post-game interview. I'm going to have to go back and look. I think it was this recent one against the Vegas Golden Knights because that was the best team effort that we've seen all season. So yeah, I feel like they just need to get it together. And there have been stretches in the past where even with Matthews in the lineup, they look unstoppable. So I think that consistency needs to be there. And especially when you get to, end of March, beginning of April, postseason, I think that's when the whole entire identity of this team is definitely going to shine because you're seeing it progress throughout the season, and that's going to be huge. But they can't keep forcing plays to Matthews, and they got to take advantage of excelling with him in the lineup just as well as with him out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the power play start to move in the right direction without him. We saw the team start to have more of a team mentality, both offensively and defensively. The problem
coincidentally, I just want to add one thing too. The power play technically got it started in that game against Minnesota, where Matthews feeds it to Nylander for that first power play goal, and God knows how many attempts.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the game has changed with him out of the lineup, and the team has been forced to play a different type of game where it's not revolving around him, both offensively and defensively. This is a guy who plays a 200-foot game. Mm-hmm. He's relied upon for more than just scoring goals. He's relied upon for making stops on the back end, and we've seen other guys step up. We're seeing guys like Hakanpää come into the lineup, and he's making plays. We're seeing Chris Tanev is the best shot blocker in the league right now.
How good our hit is that duo of him and McCabe right now?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Fantastic.
And if you're an opposing player, you don't want to go into the corners against these guys because they're not light-hearted players. They're gonna make you eat the puck, right? Like, yeah. And that's what I love about this lineup is that it's built differently. It's built to the strengths of Berube's coaching. And that's why, like, 9 times out of 10, when they had that kind of inconsistent start off the top of the year, I would have been slightly panicked. Seeing the way that this team has changed, knowing that you've got guys like Steven Lorentz who are also blocking shots and playing a defensive structured game. You've got guys like David Kampf, who, a lot of us talked about trading him in the offseason, and he's stuck it out and he's played well. He's been a face-off master again. Robertson, he's had his ups and downs so far this season. I think he's still an expendable asset. But that being said, you've got a team that is now buying into a culture that they need to win without their captain. They need to win without their star player. And right now you're sitting first in the Atlantic Division. So,
and the other thing too is this is an injury that's he's had in the past. Really can't say what, but I don't want to speculate. Obviously, it's upper body. Don't want to say it's anything with his wrist or anything. But then again, we're just speculating right now. I was just about to say it's definitely because there has been a shoulder injury in the past too. Again, we'll wait until.
Am I wrong in saying he had a separated shoulder at one point?
Wasn't it like a game against the Islanders where I think it was like not Mayfield, but Cal Clutterbuck?
Yeah, he went in. I think it was a body to body. It wasn't a full hit, but it was like definitely popped his shoulder.
Yeah. So obviously this is something that he's dealt with in the past, but it kind of re-aggravated during this season. So imagine if Matthews was healthy and he wasn't playing through that injury up until this point where now it seems like a setback and constant day to day to day for week to week to week kind of thing. But imagine if he was healthy and maybe they had this still the same strong mindset without him in the lineup if he was healthy. I think that would have been a huge difference maker, and maybe the Maple Leafs probably would have potted in a few more goals, got a few more wins, where maybe I get that it's still a new system at the beginning. They were trying to adjust right now, but I think with him out of the lineup, I think this is kind of like a blessing in disguise where, you're down your best player, but now you got to act and play the way that the coach wants you to. Otherwise, it's going to be a long season. Granted, first one with a new face behind the bench, but I think right now, they've been executing his game plan perfectly, and even more so with an injured Auston Matthews. I think that kind of tilts the scales just a little bit in regards to that.
Yeah, you've got to alter your game, but you also it's a chance to recognize that you can do it without him.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that the Leafs haven't had an opportunity to do in quite some time, and knowing that they can get the job done and do it well. We're not talking about just Matthews. Ryan Reaves was out of the lineup. He's your tough guy. David Kampf's out of the lineup.
Domi,
Yarncroke, and then
Pacioretty.
Obviously last night, Matthew Knies gets knocked out in the second period. This is a team that gelled together, pulled together, and pulled whatever strings they need to pull to get the job done and do it well against a good Western Conference team. And the last 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks that Matthews has been out, they haven't played slouches. Like they've played some pretty good teams.
I would say this is probably their toughest schedule to start a season.
Yeah, and
they fared
the
very
back-to-backs and all that crap.
Yeah.
They've had 6 back-to-backs already, or 5 back-to-backs?
I think they've already had 3 or 4 already. Because I know there was one already at the beginning of the season, one the following week, and there was the recent one with. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the schedule, but yeah, I don't think I've ever seen this many back-to-backs this early on to start. Then again, you are having that Four Nations tournament, which condenses it a little bit, but for as many back-to-backs as they have had, I think they've done a damn good job as a result. And fatigue may have set in later on, but they're holding their own.
If you had told me at the beginning of the season that they would be at this point 20 games in with Minten and Grebenkin in the lineup, I would have said you're lying. There's no way there's no way they're first in the Atlantic Division. And sure as shit, here we are 20 games in, and assuming the Chicago Blackhawks could get a win against the Florida Panthers tonight, the Leafs would actually be in first in the division, no games in hand, right? So that would be the best. Tonight I'm a Chicago Blackhawks fan. Yeah. So shout out my dad who's also a Chicago fan. Let's go Blackhawks.
I believe they've had 5 back-to-backs already.
Yeah. So five back-to-backs. Like that's insanity. 20 games in, and 10 of those games you're playing back-to-backs.
Yeah.
That's like this is prime schedule maker at the league office, just trying to shit on the Maple Leafs early on.
You could throw anything in their face, but it ain't gonna work.
Fuck that league office, man. The shit that's been pulled so far in this early season, it's got me going on Blue Sky, it's got me going on X, it's got me going everywhere, and I'm biting back at all those commenters as well. Fuck you guys. Anyways, I'm getting ready because I'm getting heated for this second part. I'm getting heated for the second part.
I think all of Leafs Nation is definitely going to be heated for the second part.
You know what though? Before we do it, I think we need a quick word so that I can cool off a little bit.
Cool off just a tad bit, yeah.
From the fine folks at DraftKings Sportsbook. You want to make a little money. The 2024-25 NHL season still has that new car smell. And the action is heating up at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started at DraftKings Sportsbook. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. And if you are new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved. I got a funny story actually about DraftKings before we move on here. I had a listener approach me about, hey, how come there's no phone numbers for if you need help in Ontario? And I was like, are you trying to tell me that you need help? If you are, we can certainly find help for you. Yeah. But no, it was just a funny kind of interaction that I had with a listener. Anyways, I'm gonna try and tone it down because I don't want it to come off as I'm like some deep conspiracy theorist. The difference in opinion on the Zach Whitecloud hit on Matthew Knies last night. And I'm talking like differing opinions across the board. You had Paul Bissonnette saying it was a clean hit. You had Tim Peel saying it was a clean hit. You had Carlo Koliakovo saying it was a dirty hit. It was like across the board, divided 50-50.
There's no one right answer.
There isn't. Mm-hmm. And I'm not in agreement that he left his feet. I do think the point was made that he didn't leave his feet. I think the biggest thing for me was the principal point of contact. And
Yes.
one of the comments made, and this was made by Paul Bissonnette, was that, where else is the shoulder supposed to go when you're leaving your elbow tucked and hitting the guy right in the chest? And I mean, that's great. That's a great opinion. Absolutely. You're 100% spot on. But what happens when that other player who's taking the hit is leaning forward and their head is the first thing that's hit?
Yeah. That's the main thing. It may not be White Cloud's intent, but it still hits him regardless.
Yeah, and
last time I checked, the jaw is connected, even though it wasn't like the actual head, the jaw is still connected to your head, your brain, everything.
And the thing I get every old school hockey fan loves these big hits.
Yeah.
I love these big hits too.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is the tone has been set when you brought in the headshot rules, when you cracked down on the headshots, which is for player safety. The onus was then taken off the player who is receiving the hit and put on the player who is delivering the hit. Mm-hmm. And that means that even if that player is slouched down, you cannot make the head the principal point of contact.
Yeah.
By the rules of the league. This is not up for debate. This is by the rules of the league. So to me, I think that's the biggest issue here, is that just a week ago, we saw Ryan Reaves, and albeit Ryan Reaves' hit was brutal.
It was terrible. Brutal. Like, it deserved
Absolutely.
the supplemental punishment.
He deserved
We're
the
not
5
disagreeing
games.
with that.
No,
Yeah.
he deserved the 5 games.
Yeah.
Did it seem a little much? To me, no. I would have. I think I even went as far as saying, I could see getting 3.
It was going to be 3 to 5. I had a feeling it would be that because of his history.
And it is what it is, right? Like, It's 5 games. It is what it is. That was a hit that deserved supplemental discipline. This hit, you can see it slow-mo from the camera right behind the bench. The way that Knies' head jerks back, and fortunately Knies seems to be okay, according to Craig Berube.
Yeah, he is okay, quote unquote.
The way his head jerked back, there's no way that the head was not the principal point of contact.
No.
And like I said, a player skating up ice with the puck is head down, leaning forward. Even if you went and tucked your elbow and you were throwing the hit into the chest, you're hitting the head first because that's the closest thing to you.
Yeah.
It's like crossing the finish line at a race. You're puffing your chest out, but a lot of the time these guys, they're still running with their heads forward.
They're still trying to get their head over that line first.
There's a reason why there's a saying, you won by a nose.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just the way your body is made up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, all respect to Paul Bissonnette, but your argument about him tucking his elbow is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because his head was still forward. So what's the principal point of contact? Principal point of contact. The lead point of contact is right here with the shoulder.
Yeah. The other big thing is whether he left his feet or not. And as he goes into the hit, it doesn't look like he left his feet, but then as he makes contact, he does. So I don't know if it's more so like the impact as a result of that. But to me, it's you hit him in the jaw, which again, if you're still going in the shoulder and the head comes down, the head is like kind of blocking where the area is of where you intended to hit. But at the same point, it's kind of like, I know there was a bit of a debate as well because Alex Pietrangelo took a hit from Nikita Grebenkin and he was bloody because he went headfirst into the boards. But you slow it down too, you see Pietrangelo kind of turn into that himself. Again, I kind of digress, but there are two different situations where it's a borderline hit. It's a tough situation to talk about. But at the same time, I'm going back to the White Cloud hit on Knies. I don't know if it was bad enough to warrant a suspension because I don't think anything was bad as the Reaves hit. But my issue I take with this is he was injured. He left. He went to the quiet room, concussion protocol. As a result of that, he didn't return to the game. To me, if a player is out as a result of a hit like that, it should constitute as a major because there is a potential serious injury on the line here. And the fact that they called it a major, went back and said, oh, it's only a 2-minute minor, I think that's absolutely disgusting on the league's part, because if you want to take that stuff out, you shouldn't have the ability to go back and demote it and say that it wasn't that serious. Meanwhile, a player is still injured as a result of that hit. That, to me, the fact that you're able to go back, I just don't like it one bit. I think that they really, really got to set a standard where if you feel like it's a major, call it as a major and don't second guess yourself. I think that second guessing is ruining the league right now, and it's really irated a lot of fans because you can easily go back and change your opinion on that. Meanwhile, it's still a head hit, even though it didn't officially hit him in the head. It still hit him in that head area. To me, again, the jaw is connected to your head. I mean, it's part of your head, but I just think that if it just doesn't quite make sense to reverse that call based on the severity of what it is. And again, it's nowhere near as the Ryan Reaves hit. I think that the path was kind of the same in terms of both hits, but I think the impact of Reaves was more detrimental or a serious more outcome that deserved a suspension, possibly more than the white cloud on Knies. But it's still, but he should have been ejected as a result. I don't understand why you can overturn that. And I'm going to come out and say this. I am a huge Zach Whitecloud fan. I love the way that he plays, but I think that was a very serious hit. It was in a vulnerable position, and I didn't think he should have continued on. I mean, I've written pieces how the Maple Leafs should acquire him because he brings that exact same tough style. I love it, but at the same point, I mean, you can't say that the Ryan Reaves had deserved a suspension and this didn't at least warrant some type of major as opposed to a minor. That to me is just that it just doesn't make it doesn't make that much sense to me.
Can we go back to this idea that we've brought up 1,000 times on this podcast about
1,001 right now?
1,001. This is the 1,001st time, but having a media scrum after with the referees about their decision making, because I
just saw earlier today that George Peros was going to do kind of like a Q&A on Coast to Coast, which I would want to.
He's doing the Q&A.
He's doing the Q&A, but I would still
George Peros. Fuck George Peros.
Totally understand, but at the same time, it's those instances or plays with the refs that we want to see, or like the NHL front office or like the situation room. We want to see that type of clarity because we want it here first. Why was this not a major?
Yeah, I just my biggest issue is they're like, if you can go back and change your mind from a 5-minute major, then you should be able to go back and explain yourself as to why you did it.
Exactly.
Regardless. Yeah, I think we're giving too much leniency. We're taking the onus off the referees. Mm-hmm. We talked about this a week or 2 weeks ago.
But Gary Bettman seems to think that they're doing a fine job.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't have suspended Zach Whitecloud. I would have given him a 5-minute major in that instance. You took a player out of the game.
Yeah.
It goes back to this idea of an eye for an eye. If you think the penalty is if you think the play is bad enough to warrant a 5-game suspension, you give him a 5-game suspension. If you think the play was, deservedly took a player out of the game, it should take the other player out of the game. It's this. I'm all for physicality. This is not the NHL of the early 90s. This is not the NHL of the late 80s. This is the NHL of the 2020, where player safety is the biggest concern and the biggest conversation outside of the four walls of league offices. So at what point do you say, you know what, we need to have a little bit more explanation as to why that decision was made? Mm-hmm. This guy's injured. He went to the choir room. He's now out of the game with what could be a concussion. It was not a hockey play anymore.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because big hits drove this game. Mm-hmm. We all, as kids, had those Rock'em Sock'em videos. We all did.
Oh yeah.
Everyone. Like if you were a hockey fan, you had the Rock'em Sock'ems. Or those short clips that came in the Bud Light or the Blues, the Labatt Blue. Regardless, there needs to be consistency and definitivity when it comes to the ultimate goal of what this league wants to do in terms of protecting its players. Last night, they did not protect Matthew Knies. Those scrums you talked about, which is great to see John Tavares and Oliver Ekman-Larsson get into it. Those are results of referees
Players taking matters
losing.
in their own hands because
Absolutely.
officials are not doing their job.
And we've talked about this. It goes back to players policing themselves. And had Reaves been in that game, White Cloud would have probably been out of it as well.
He would have had to answer the bell.
Without question.
Yeah. And I think at one point too, Jake McCabe was barking at White Cloud too. So it wasn't just Simon Benoit jumping in, or obviously with Reaves out of the lineup, you saw Benoit jump in, you saw McCabe let him know that, hey, we're not going to forget about this kind of thing. And you saw that scrum where the Golden Knights were still trying to amp the intensity. Toronto wasn't backing down. They matched it. And I think one point to you too, when you said that, I think that if it was downgraded to a minor and Matthew Knies is still out or was diagnosed with an injury, I think maybe you could look at maybe one game as a result. But even then,
even the minor, the Leafs came away with on the penalty
they went
kill.
On the PK, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, how can you have a hit like that come out on the penalty kill? And I think Berube too was like, "Are you kidding me?" And you can see, I don't want to read lips, but I think there were quite a few, instances right there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but hey, the refereeing is okay in the NHL. Gary Bettman says it's A-okay. Anyways, yeah. The one part that came away from all of this was that the young players in the lineup, the depth that the Leafs are looking at what they have, they were able to get a little bit more opportunity. And we got to talk about these two. In the game against Vegas, you got Nikita Grebenkin and you've got Fraser Minten, who both stepped into the lineup. Fraser Minten's played 5 NHL games prior, so this wasn't his NHL debut, albeit it was his season debut after an injury suffered in rookie camp, right? Rookie camp?
The Prospect Showdown against Montreal.
Prospect Showdown, that's right.
I think it was Reinbacher that took him out, possibly.
That took him out, yeah. So anyways, he got his first taste of the NHL this season. And then obviously Grebenkin got his rookie lap. It's his first game in the league. And what they say, forecheck, back check, paycheck.
Yeah.
So I think he's got his spot.
He's got it down pat. He's got it down pat.
But anyways, Fraser Minten obviously scores his first NHL goal, opens up the scoring, ends up being the game winner, and it was a beautiful goal. Nylander with the around the
Slick
net,
feed.
the nice feed out front, and Minten it was a perfect example of Minten and his smarts for the game, knowing how to get in from that high slot into the slot, and you just wired it home. It was a beautiful goal. Those are the ones you want to write about and say, that was my first NHL goal, not the ones bouncing off your shin pads. So Minten's got one to write home about. Both of them, to me, though, stood out. I think Minten had not only the goal, but he had a lot of scoring opportunities. He played some physicality in the offensive zone. You got Grebenkin, who cross-checked Pietrangelo into the boards, and albeit I would have given him 2 there. Yeah, I would have given him 2.
That probably deserved it, even though Pietrangelo turned. It still warranted something. Yeah.
So, but he wasn't afraid to get in there, and I think that was the biggest point. The play that isn't getting talked about enough, and this is Tic Tac Tomar that provides us with all the video content that we need.
Yeah.
The sliding defensive play by Grebenkin where he dove to take away a 2-on-1 and knock the puck away. That, to me, right there, this kid needs to stick around. You need to find a spot for him, and he is already a Leafs fan favorite. What'd you take away from the 2 young kids?
Well, it's funny. You post a question at the beginning of the game. Who tucks one, Minten or Grebenkin? I said both. I would, and Grebenkin easily could have had his first and a couple of points himself. Like, he really did. He was that impressive. And as soon as Minten scored, I'm like, 1 out of 2. Let's go. Let's make it 2 for 2 kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, you really can't overlook the fact that they stood out. They were you don't want to set unreasonable expectations for rookies, but they exceeded what I thought that would happen in that game. I thought Minten would be a very steady presence, two-way factor, and he was. And then he found the back of the net, but he had a lot more jump and a lot more pep in his step, a lot more intensity. I think getting that call up really showed that they had faith in him as a result of his hot start coming back. And Grebenkin, you mentioned the physicality. the back check to break up that 2-on-1. This was a lot in part that the Maple Leafs have faith in these two guys to be key contributors in the future. And I even wrote about, potential call-ups that could happen. Minten was one of them. Grebenkin is one of them. And we're already seeing that right now. And it's only one game. You don't want to jump to conclusions. But they executed Craig Berube hockey to a T. The offensive chances, the physicality, the defensive plays. I think the Grebenkin was a little bit more than Minten in regards to being more... I'm trying to find the right word for this, but I can't quite put my finger on it. I think he had a little bit more moments because of the physicality. Minten, played the body, but I think he was a little bit quiet at times. But at the same time, it was a good quiet. It wasn't anything detrimental. And I think he even came back on that power play, that shorthanded chance that led to the Nylander goal. So both players playing a factor in negating a odd man rush and a scoring chance as a result. So that's the smarts for both players are there, that if they're in a pinch, they don't panic in a situation like that. So I thought they were fantastic. I think that you can't find any reason to send them down if they continue to have another game like they do against Utah. If there's a game next week where they look really great, you have to start making some tough decisions about who is going to be out with these two players continue to rise up and steal roster spot from someone on the team. So to me, like you mentioned, the smarts from Minten hanging high because he knows that Nylander is going to dish the puck in a perfect spot for him, and he wired it. Grebenkin was all over the place in a good way, both offensively or like in all three zones. I think that those two guys were really great. I thought Alex Steeves looked really good, even though he didn't find the back of the net. I think he has a lot more pep and energy. I thought yesterday was Pontus Holmberg's best game in quite some time this season. I know everyone's going to say, oh, it's an empty net goal, but you know what? All you need is just one.
The monkey off your back.
All you need is just one. Yeah. That's all you need. So I thought overall from the young players, and who could forget Joseph Wall with the little shimmy shake for the shutout kind of thing. But you can't overlook the fact that Minten and Grebenkin were the stars in that game. And yeah, they're just rookies. So I'm looking to see more what they can do because I was very impressed with the way that they played.
Yeah, I think the interesting part will be because the Leafs don't now play until Sunday against the Utah Hockey Club. Mm-hmm. The interesting part is going to be where the team goes from here. And whether they get another opportunity to play. I can't see why you wouldn't. If I'm Berube, I'm licking my chops knowing that that's what I've got in the minors, as well as Alex Nylander, who's just sniping goals right now for the Marlies. There's only there's not enough space on this roster. This is a good problem to have, but it's also one that you don't want to have because you want to have all of that in your lineup at all times. But
let's face it, come playoff time, let's say the injuries pile up. Mm-hmm. You can definitely rely on players like Steeves, Minten, Grebenkin, Holmberg, if he tries to find a little bit more consistency to move further up into the lineup. So, yeah, good problem to have, but tough decisions loom when everybody's healthy.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. It's a good problem to have, like I said. I'm excited to see if Minten and Grebenkin both get into the lineup on Sunday against Utah. Obviously, if the injuries are still there, that's the likelihood. The word is Matthews could be out until their Florida road trip. We'll see how that goes. Could be week to week, could be month to month.
Another day to day.
Now we're out of it. Maybe he's
just a few more day to days,
Maybe he's just traveling the world. He's going to check out Switzerland next. Get a few air miles in there while
I was about to say get those air miles
on the road, right? But anyways, the air miles don't just come at the LCBO on holiday season. They come when you go get your shoulder checked. Anyways. Yeah, anyways, before we close it out, just one last word from our sponsors over at Raycon. And speaking of the holiday season, prior to Christmas, we've got Black Friday, we've got Cyber Monday. Raycon, sorry. What is the deal that you're looking for Black Friday, Cyber Monday? Everywhere has deals for those 2 days, but Raycon has it leading up to it. They've always got deals on. They've always got amazing deals because with Raycon, you get an amazing deal on premium audio every day of the year. But that doesn't mean they're not having any sales for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Far from it. They're actually doubling down on their amazing value by offering our viewers up to 30% off site-wide. A Black Friday or Cyber Monday deal you'll appreciate every day Raycon's everyday earbuds, especially if you haven't checked out their latest model, which includes plenty of new features that make them even more of a must-have for any audio lover. For example, they now feature a 32-hour battery life and multi-point connectivity that lets you pair with 2 devices at once. You can listen to music, you can listen to a Sticks and Six podcast at the same time. Raycon's everyday earbuds also come with active noise cancellation. It's a feature that's a must-have for me on long flights, long drives, or just when you need that break from reality. But one that can be difficult to find at an accessible price point until now. Because that's another thing. Although Raycon's quality rivals some of the biggest names in premium audio, Raycons start at just half the price as the other guys. So they're already an incredible deal even before you factor in their Black Friday sales offer and their offer of up to 30% off site-wide. Raycon's everyday earbuds are also available in a variety of vibrant colors, so you don't have to just have the standard issue white or black earbuds sticking out of your ears. You can have purple, you can have green, you can have blue. They're all there on the website, and you can get it for 30% off. Now's the perfect time to scoop them up if you haven't already. And don't worry, if you're not as impressed as I am, Raycon offers a 30-day happiness guarantee, so you really can't lose. It's time to save big for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get up to 30% off site-wide. That's right, you'll get up to 30% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/THPN. And well, Peter, like we said off the top of the show, it was a fun show tonight. It's been a couple weeks since we gone on. We got the juices flowing a little bit. We got some heated stuff talking about the Reaves and the White Cloud, the hot takes. We had Briony on talking about the artwork that's going to push this PWHL into the next level. Get in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Get that stuff in there. We want to see it. We want the world to see it. The PWHL wants the world to see it. Just keep pushing that, guys. Push. The momentum is there. Let's keep this growing. Help folks like Briony grow that game. Before we close it out, anything you want to add here, Peter?
No, just I'm got something in the works about I know we talked about the young players and possible who's in, who's out kind of situation. So be on the lookout for that for me at the Hockey Writers, as well as some World Junior coverage. Going to be diving into a bit of that right now. So yeah, beautiful. Perfect timing.
Now's the time of year. Now is the time of year to get those World Junior juices flowing. So we will definitely look out for that. As always, big shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network. We're proud family members of the Hockey Podcast Network. Shout out to DraftKings, Gametime, Raycon, No Name Hockey, Indie Ale House, as well as shout out to Briony Douglas for coming on and joining us and sharing what she hopes will come from another wonderful piece promoting the PWHL. Until next time, that's it for episode 180 for Sunday. Go Leafs, go.